The bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast, dedicated to all things wine value, wine retail, wine auction, and just wine. On WineBid marketing team, my name is Jeff McGurn. With me, as always, is Paul, our wine expert, Paul, the darling of Dry Creek Valley. Wow. He is.
I like that one.
Yes. Tall is, that's what everyone knows him as, the darling of Dry Creek Valley.
I like that one. That's good.
How did you get that? How did you get that moniker, Paul?
Just now heard it for the first time, so you'll have to help me out. I don't remember. There's a lot of Zinfandel in Dry Creek, so maybe my memory is faded from that.
And he's modest, folks. He's modest. And he does love a good Dry Creek Zinfandel. That is for darn.
Yeah, that's true. Raffinelli, it's like, it's one of my favorite wines. I got to say, my dad's been on the mailing list forever, so I'm biased, but
there you go. And there's a little bit of mailing list nepotism going on. And I would like anybody who has a winery in Dry Creek, check your list, because you might have Paul's dad on it and all that's going to Paul, and that's just not fair. Maybe he shouldn't be on that mailing list anymore.
And their spring release just came out, FYI. So if you want some of the Zin, I could maybe score you some. It's a close
He's always offering to hook people up with something that he.
No, you, Jeff. No one else.
Oh, okay.
There's always Raffinelli. I think there's actually probably some in the auction.
Yeah, Raffinelli.
It'll be cheaper than from the winery. All right, let's stop getting into trouble. And
we've gone down this rabbit hole. Okay, so today we're going to be going through our auction recap for the auction that ended 2 days ago now. 2 days ago from when we're taping this. It ended on March 17th at 7 p.m.
2024.
And we had a lot of really cool stuff in auction that we want to sort of highlight and go through and talk about what's going on. I want to start off with Sudorau, like the little half bottles of Sudorau that were, the 05 started at 25, ended up hammering at 37. So coming up quite a bit. And then the 07 started at 30, hammered at 40. I mean, look, I thought 25 was like a phenomenal deal for 05 Sudorau,
Yeah. $25 for a half bottle of any leading producer of Sauterne is that's a great deal. So
that's a great deal.
At 37 with plus commission out the door, that's not bad. I mean, half bottles even a glass of something like 10 years old at a restaurant's going to be probably about $20. So.
Right. You're going to pay that for a glass. You buy that at retail for that half bottle, and you're going to be paying probably $40-$50 anyway.
Yeah, easily.
It has the age on it. So speaking of stuff that sells for well below retail, 2019 Chimney Rock Clone 4.
That's a Chimney Rock. Now this is a different wine, right? The last wine we talked about, I think, was the 18 Cabernet, like a state
Cabernet or Elevage.
Oh, I can't remember.
It was one of the, but
I can't remember.
See recent vintage Chimney Rocks come through. And it's something we always have this conversation about, that you go find this at retail or off the mailing list, and you're going to be paying 90, 100.
It's got to be. I mean, in that neighborhood, it's got to be $100, especially the Clone 4, like a designated wine. It's got to be over $100.
I mean, the non-designated's like $100.
Yeah.
And this is, so $60 it started at, hammered at 76 after 7 bids. I still think the 76 is a really good deal.
Yeah, that's not terrible for, great vintage. Got great scores too. I just noticed big scores from Galoni and Jeb Dunnick and Advocate. So yeah, it's that's not a bad deal.
2000 Esprit de L'Eglise, 7 bids took it from 30 to 51.
Yeah, I think this was one of my picks, actually. I was like, oh, this is a great second label. It's from a great vintage. It's a great deal. And looks like some other people thought the same thing.
At least 7 other people thought the same thing.
Yeah. But then, if you look also at our history of that wine, I believe we've only ever sold it twice. And the last time was in 2004.
Let me guess, for $30.
$25.
$25.
So, but imagine waiting, 20 years to find a wine on the auction. I mean, that's pretty wild.
2016 F. Lee Alessandria Barolo started at 57 bids, took it to 62 for a 16.
Yeah, so Alessandria, I know, has been kind of under the radar, and there's not anymore. Well, the critics kind of blew it up too, right? It's gotten plenty of press. It's not like it's flying literally underground somewhere where nobody knows about it. It's got tons of scores, but for the sort of, amount of points that it gets, if for lack of a better term, it's not expensive. And so I think people kind of are like, oh, wait a minute, this is impressive. And that's not too bad. I did want to say one of the wines that you didn't want me to mention last week, the Cotat Sancerre. We were talking about like Andre Vaton, how crazy expensive the Clos Noir was, but it was 14 Cotat Sancerre, Monts, Damnés. That thing went crazy. It doubled in price.
Now, my investing advice of the week, and this is a surefire bet. If you had bought not a million, that's crazy, 10,000 cases of this wine for $60 a bottle, and you sold it today, you would double your money. Boom.
Yes, that's wise words from our fine wine investment expert, Jeff McGurn.
I'm also great at being a.
By the way, Jeff, did you know that same exact wine is back in the auction this week at a revised reserve price of $105? so you could buy these 2 bottles in the current week and then wait, however many years and double your money, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I really.
I don't know. I don't want to give you any investment advice.
Yeah. Well, I don't do it like going forward. I'm purely you're
just a retrospective investment advice. I see. Yes. So helpful. Exactly. So helpful.
I'm the Monday morning auction.
You're the hangover advice expert.
Exactly. I thought this, one that we had talked about, which I think like consistently comes in at a crazy great deal, is this 95, the Staglin. We saw this 95 Staglin estate, which we all know the Staglin estate is going for what, 150, 200, sometimes maybe more than that. Right. Yeah. And it came in the auction at 95 at $60. Right. So you and I were, I mean, I think you sent it to me and you're like, did you see this? I'm like, of course I saw that. Every week, of course I saw that. Right. $60, 7 bits to 120. Not surprising, which by the way, even at 120, that is still well below what you're going to pay for Staglin estate.
Wait. No, the 95 only went for 74.
Oh, sorry, 74.
It's still a great deal.
Sorry, 70. Sorry, I was looking back at the Cotat Sancerre, but yeah, so $60 to 74. Still not outrageous. Still not even close to being outrageous. It's still not even close to being outrageous for Staglin, which I still feel like punches way above its weight. Even if you buy the Salas, it's still fantastic stuff, right? And
Staglin's been very consistently underpriced at auction, and it's still a good deal. I don't know if there's more in this week from other vintages, 54
lots of Staglin in this week. There's
okay, well,
and it's all like it's.
Did we talk about it yesterday? I don't even remember.
We talked about it, dude. What did you drink last night? Of course, we talked about it yesterday. We had a whole conversation about Staglin.
Well, you know what? I know why. Because there's so much new wine in the current auction, and I don't know if you mentioned. I mean, we're totally off topic, but who cares? It's all about wine. There's this Bella Oaks Cabernet from Staglin in the current week too, which I don't even remember seeing. 13 and 15 Bella Oaks Cabernet.
Can you not talk about this stuff? And it's
90 Magnum, $140. Oh man. So yeah, look at
Staglin designated vineyard for $140. Come on. Why are you saying these things?
There's plenty to go around. Don't worry.
You know I'm trying to buy stuff for my birthday, Paul. Come on, man. Like you're getting in the way. You're getting in the way of my bids, buddy. Okay. Hey, 2010 Brovia Barolo. We had 2 of those.
That's an interesting one.
That was an interesting one. Look, 2010 phenomenal vintage for Barolo and Brunello's, right? 75 was so low for that.
It's true. And it's weird because it hammered for $91 a couple of years ago. So I'm not sure why the reserve stayed at 75, but maybe who knows? Anyway, or 70, whatever it was. Anyway, it's back up to I think where it belongs. It's a great Piedmont red vintage.
Piedmont red vintage.
Probably still needs I would say, quite a few years. But
I mean, speaking of Brunellos, a little bit of movement on the 18 Casanova de Neri, Brunello di Montalcino. That one,
Brunello? I thought we were in Piedmont a second ago. You travel quickly through Italy.
I do. I don't
remember talking about Brunellos, but continue.
Space and time is not an object to me, Paul. I move across it effortlessly, as you can see. But I thought this was interesting because I thought, 45 I think is a great deal for Casanova de Neri, Brunello di Montalcino, right? And when you compare it to retail.
I mean, that wine is, I saw there was an anniversary bottling from the 13 vintage and it was like $200. So yeah, the price varies greatly depending on score and vintage. And even the 18s, actually, the 18 didn't the scores are great, but not compared to, say, some of the super banner vintages like 97 and 2010 and things.
Yeah.
So 50, what did I hammer? 52?
52. You go and find this at retail and it's going to be minimum like $75.
Yeah, that's true.
Minimum, if not higher, right? Let's talk about the high hammers, right? Let's talk about some of the standouts and some of the heavy hitters. A lot of DRC sold. Because remember, we had a bunch of DRC come to auction last week. So we had the 17 DRC Romanée-Conti sell for $13,500, 96 DRC Romanée-Conti sell for $12,500. We had a 12 bottle lot case of 98 Lafite sell for $73.80, which I thought was super interesting. 2020 Screaming Eagle Cab, 3 bottle lot WC sold for $68.70. Some more DRC.
I think that's where the 20 was selling last week. It's still very unpredictable, but
this is going crazy. 20 DRC Montrachet for $66.15, 20 DRC Corton Charlemagne for $54.45, 2019 DRC Corton Charlemagne for $5,010. And then the ones that I thought were really cool that I wanted to mention was, because we talked about these, the 98 Chave Cuvee Cataline, those sold for $3,900.
Oh, do both of them sell?
Are you surprised? How often do we see?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have, like a closet full of Cuvee Cataline somewhere? Never. I mean, I don't want to say never comes at auction, but it's not common to see that come into auction. Chave, yes.
No, there are not many vintages of it in existence anyway. It's not produced every year, and 98 was phenomenal Rhone red vintage. So those are both very collectible.
Let's talk about some of the weekly winners right now. So some non-vintage, or as you like to say, multi-vintage, right? Antica Terra Salud Estate Cuvée Pinot Noir Mag. We feel like this is a record of 401. I thought that was super interesting. This Colgan 14 Curiad 6 bottle lot OWC 1940. We feel like that seems to be a high.
Yeah, it's creeping up.
Yeah.
I mean, 14 softer vintage, younger drinking Cabernet vintage and Napa for sure. But the Colgans, I think people were like, oh, that's probably good. I don't know if it got bid up, $323 a bottle. That's not, it's less than it costs now. So it's not a crazy, high price, but it is interesting to note that seems to be the record, compared to external auction houses, at least the data that we can see from Wine Market Journal. There's nothing higher than 1940 in recent memory. So
I thought it was really interesting to see these Dagenhal bottles sell. We have a 2000 Cuvée Select.
Yeah, we talked about both of these, and I'm surprised that the Chailloux sold for more than the Silex. I would have expected, and I still actually do expect the Silex to be a longer term wine, but I could be very wrong. Jeff likes to call me an expert. It's very silly. I'm not.
He's modest.
I always thought, no, but it's true. I thought that the deal with the Dagenhal wines, at least when he was still around, I believe that there's a couple top cuvées and Silex is one of them. And I always thought that it was the one that was fermented in steel and in oak. And I thought on Chailloux was only steel fermented, in which case I would have expected it, to be a younger drinking wine in general. But I guess who knows? I don't know. Like I said, I'm no expert, but $600 for, that's
2000
record. That's going to be a record for any Dagenhal wine, period. I mean, I've never seen go for that much.
That was crazy high. I thought that was really cool to see that on Chailloux. This one I actually thought was really, really neat. And I want to make sure to mention this, just because I love this producer, Domaine, Vouvray, the Le Haut-Lieu Moelleux 1924 sold for $1,806. The previous high was at one of our competitors, who shall remain nameless, like Voldemort, for $448. So
rhymes with cracker.
That's a movement. But we see 1924 Vouvray from Domaine Huet come along.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're a big fan of these wines.
I am.
Yeah, but good luck finding another one of those anytime soon, right?
Never.
I'm curious too, because I think I've mentioned this before, that these wines have been re-released from the winery over time. So I wonder if this was re-released or held at the winery for quite a few years and then bottled. I know back in the 90s they were bottling wines from I think they were already in bottle, excuse me. They were labeling and then re-releasing wines from the winery from the 40s. I know they had like 47s or something.
So this says 45 on it, but let me just say, the back label doesn't exactly look like it's from 1924 to me. Right, where it's like government.
Yeah, so it must have been a late release from the winery.
So it looks like it was acquired from a private collection. It has to have been a late release from the winery. It says 750 milliliters and 11.5% alcohol by volume. I think just the fact that it's got those two things listed,
Wine Brokers International,
probably will give an indication of when it was released. The fill level looks fantastic, and it looks like there might be some a champagne cage underneath.
Right, I see that. Yeah, it does look like it has a
cage or
like a metal twisted cage underneath it. That's interesting. That's really wild.
It's in amazing condition, actually. And I will say, these wines, look, this is probably off dry, right?
But yeah, Moelleux is sweet. Yeah.
This is this could be sweet or off dry. And then I think the other thing is the Huets that I've had always have a lot, they have a great deal of acidity, which I feel like, between the sugar and the acidity, it should be great. We had a couple of Côte Rôtie La Landons from Gugal from 85, two of them. One sold for $12.20, the other sold for $13.55. Which are both records from what we can tell. We've got 01 Schaefer Vineyard 25th anniversary, Sunspot Vineyard Cabernet Sauvignon Mag sold for $6.45. That seems to be a high on record. And then this Macedo, 95 Macedo, $8.80.
$8.80. Yeah, those are just going up and up and up. I mean, that does have that's close to 30 years old now, right? So that's a pretty collectible wine.
It's almost about my age. Same age as me, basically. It's interesting to see the Macedos continue to go up and up. And I think we talk about this every week, but I feel like there's this trend where Burgundy seems to be coming down a bit. There's been a lot of money flowing to Burgundy, but some of these other sort of I don't want to say off the beaten path, but maybe less mainstream producers that are still well known seem to be creeping up a bit. Read like Bon, Dagenau, maybe some Macedo. People like, Le Pin and Petrus are a bit much. Maybe I'll invest in some Macedo instead. Not that Macedo's cheap, but certainly it's not, Petrus or Le Pin, right? Just some interesting stuff. So I think I'm gonna sort of wrap us up here and just say a couple things. First of all, a lot of the stuff that you heard us talk about, a few things. You can still go find some amazing stuff in auction this week on WineBid.com if you want to bid on it. And we will be giving a $15 WineBid wallet credit to anybody who uses the word darling, because Paul is the darling of Dry Creek Valley. This credit will only work for this week, though. So after this week, no mas darling credit. But if you listen to this podcast, if you're one of the 7 bots that listens to the podcast, use that.
No, we apparently actually do have listeners, so we want to give them credit. We don't.
We do.
We don't just give the robots credit.
We have 2. We have at least 2 listeners that we know of. Anyway, and with that, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.